Does your underwater video footage look like this? But you would much rather have it looking like this? In today's Back to Basics episode, I'll share with you my 4 tips on how to improve the colors in your underwater video footage. Coming up. Hi, and welcome back to the Underwater Filmmaking School and today's episode of Back to Basics. Now in today's video, I want to talk to you about how you can improve your colors in your underwater video footage. Now if you've looked at footage taken from someone who has just recently started filming underwater, you will most probably notice that the colors don't really look very natural and they're not very intense either. Now, I've got 4 tips for you today on how you can actually improve those colors in camera before you even take the footage into your post-production software. Let's start with tip number 1. So the first tip is very easy to do and in my opinion also one of the most important ones, and it's staying shallow. Now whenever you want to film underwater, the shallower you stay, the more natural ambient light you'll have, and therefore the colors will just look a lot more natural and a lot more vibrant at the same time. Remember, when you learned how to dive in your open water course, you were actually taught that the deeper down you go, the less color, the less light there will be. So staying shallow and also diving when the sun is out, preferably somewhere between 11 AM and 3 PM, will ensure that you get the most light inside your scenes and the most natural looking footage at the same time. If staying shallow is not gonna work for you for whatever reason, let's say the place where you're diving at doesn't have a shallow part of the reef, or you specifically want to go deeper down because you, for example, want to film a wreck that lies in deeper depth, obviously there's going to be less light down there and therefore less colors. But, and that's tip number 2, you can use red or magenta filters like this one here that will actually help you bring more red color back into your image. And red is the color that disappears first. So if you're going deeper down, you lose a lot of red, putting a filter on, it will bring back some of that lost red color. Now, why red or magenta? You're basically deciding on whether you're diving in bluish water, which would mean that you want to use a red filter, or in greenish water, which means you will end up using a magenta filter. Now, these filters get screwed on top of your camera lens and you're good to go, and you're gonna get much more natural looking footage. Keep in mind though that using filters, they will actually absorb some light, so you will actually have to open up your aperture a little more or crank up the ISO to get the same exposure as without using a filter. Moving on to tip number 3, which is using an underwater video light. Just like this one here. They come in a variety of different sizes, different models, different power outputs, all that sort of stuff. So it's really depending on what kind of footage you're trying to film, to what light you're gonna choose. If you're focusing on macro stuff, one light's probably gonna be enough, and the small one's also gonna be good because you're only gonna be illuminating a small area of the reef and you're gonna be fairly close to that as well. If on the other hand you're trying to shoot some wide angle shots, you will need larger, more powerful lights, and definitely you'll need 2 of them so that you can get the entire frame or a little bit of light into the entire frame. If you're more interested in learning more about the concept of or the importance of light underwater when we film, feel free to click the link up here. I've created a video a while ago about just that topic, so if that's of any interest to you, feel free to check that out. And last but not least, tip number 4 is to always use manual white balance when filming underwater. Now, as long as your camera obviously supports that function underwater, I would always use manual white balance, because using that, you're gonna ensure that you get the most natural looking colors when filming underwater. Using manual white balance or applying that might be a little difficult sometimes, and depending on your camera model, it is not even possible at all. If you guys want to learn more about how to properly white balance your camera underwater, feel free to leave a link down in the description, and I'll make sure to produce a video about that topic in the near future. And there you go. Those are my 4 top tips for achieving better colors when filming underwater. Obviously, there's a lot more different techniques and tips on how you can achieve that. One that has been very popular in recent time is the technique of using ambient light filters, which is basically a combination of my tips 2, 3, and 4. So using filters, using lights, and using manual white balance. In addition to that, you also use blue ambient light filters that get put onto your underwater video lights. Now, this is a technique that is a little more complicated and needs a little more explanation, so it would be too much to include it into this video. But again, if you're interested, let me know down in the video description below, and I will create a video in the near future that is going to cover just that topic of how to use ambient light filters and get the best possible result with them. Thanks again for watching, guys. As always, if this video was useful, please hit that like button. You know it means a lot to me, and also consider subscribing to the channel so you're not missing out on any content that will be uploaded here in the future. Do not forget to hit that little notification bell so you do get notified whenever we upload a new video. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.